Seventh grade, welcome back from break. Happy Tuesday. I'm glad to see everybody. I wanted to come at you guys with a brand new video, and I wanted to discuss something today that I haven't really discussed before. Something totally new, something you haven't heard me talk about. But don't don't get it twisted. This is an important topic. It's a very important topic, and it's actually one that's really important to me. I kind of think it's one of those things that should be important to everybody. And I'm finding that in the young kids today, it's not necessarily a value, and that's okay because you have time to learn it. But that's what this video is for. I want to teach you something that I think is important, and that is the importance of punctuality. Okay, and you might say, well, what's punctuality, Mr. V? And I'd say, good question. Um, Punctuality is the act of being on time, simply put, just the act of being on time. And I know that that sounds so simple, but um, you may you may know that it's actually not very simple, or I should say, for some people, it's a challenge. And so I wanted to talk about why. I'm not necessarily going to talk too much about like tips on how to be on time in this video. I'm really more going to try to convince you with this video that trying to be on time and focusing on that is important, because I actually think that there's people that don't actually think it's important. So want to try to talk to you about why it's important, and I have 7 kind of points that I'd like to make. And so the first one is, and it may be the most important one, is the unintended message you might be sending to the other person. Now, I say unintended because I don't think most people are showing up late to things because they want to send a message to that other person. Like, I don't care about you, and I don't value your time, and I don't think this is an important meeting. I don't think that's the case for most people. But the important thing to realize is that although you may not be intending to send that message, for some people, if you're chronically late, they will begin to feel that way. Like you don't value their time. Like this meeting wasn't important. Like they're not important. That you don't like them or care about them, right? That may seem extreme, but if you are chronically late to meetings or to appointments with people, like it's very possible that they might start to feel that way, and you need to know that. The second thing is that the impact that your lateness could have on the attitude of the other person, right? Like, who knows why you're meeting with this person, but when you show up and you arrive and you're sitting across from the table with this person, you want them to be in a happy mood, right? You want everybody to be calm and happy and peaceful and joyful and just having fun, right? But if you are chronically late to things, that might begin to wear on the other person. It might begin to irritate the person, and they may be more irritable and less kind, less patient during your meeting, during your time together. Um, they may even begin to like rush through your meeting or your time together to get done with it because it started late and they need to get to something else, right? So that's just not a good way to start your interaction, because you don't know how that other person might be feeling. They may be getting built up anger inside about the fact that you're always late, right? And then that could impact the dialogue or the conversation that you're having. Number 3, how might the other person view you, right? How do they view you? You're chronically late to things. How do they view you? I think it's possible that over time they might view you as an unreliable person. Well, I can't really trust or count on this person because when we agree at 10 o'clock, they show up at 10:30 or 10:20 or 10:15 every time. They might begin to think you're an unmotivated person, right? Maybe you're going for a job one day, but you're chronically late to things. They might start to begin to think you're unmotivated. They might start to even think you're like a disorganized person. And these are maybe qualities that may not be true necessarily, but these are the perceptions that these people might start to think. And again, depending on the environment and what's going on, these you may or may not want to be viewed as an unmotivated, unorganized, unreliable person. Number 4, you might just miss some important stuff, right? Like sometimes meetings go on with or without you, right? Whether it's a business meeting, an academic meeting, or even just a gathering with your friends. Like a lot of times these group meetings social events, whatever, they're going to start without you. And so you're just going to miss some stuff, and you don't want to miss stuff. You want to be there, and you want to know what's going on. Next one, number 5, there's a good chance that you're not prepared for the meeting, physically or mentally. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm late, I'm usually rushing. I'm rushing to get out of the house because I know I'm late and I don't want to be late, but I'm rushing. And oftentimes I forget things, and then I'm speeding over to this meeting or whatever. And I get there, and I just experienced 20 minutes of chaos trying to get out of this house, that like mentally there's like a tornado going on inside my head. And so for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever, of this meeting or social gathering, I'm still trying to like come down from what I just went through. So that's another thing to think about. 6, the impact that this might have on your social life. I think that it may not seem like a big deal to be 10 or 15 minutes late every time to a get together with a friend. You might say, well, they're a friend, like they should be fine with it. And that because they're a friend, they probably will be more likely to put up with it, right? But it's also possible that over time, people think twice about making plans with you because you might be so unreliable. They might want to meet at this time, and they just know that you're going to show up a half hour late. So you know what? I'll go to somebody else and I'll make plans with them. Right? 7, the impact that being late could have on the things that you do outside of school, like sports, like acting, like dance, like any other competitive thing, right? You want your coach or your trainer to see you as a reliable person, someone who's working hard, doing everything they can. And if you're showing up late to practices, you're showing up late to games, sometimes forgetting things or missing things because you were rushing, there's a good chance that over time your coach is going to look at you as someone that's not as reliable. Maybe doesn't care as much as the next person. And so that could then impact your playing time or whether or not you get that spot in the play. And so, that's another thing to think of. So those are 7 reasons why, if you don't care so much right now about being a person that's on time, these are 7 reasons why you might think about starting to care and trying to do a little better in this area. And so the very last thing I want to mention now, after I've given you all the reasons, is that very simply that sometimes being late is unavoidable. Excuse me. Sometimes being late is unavoidable, and we tried our best and we hit traffic, or we were relying on a brother or a sister to take us and they just couldn't get out of the house, or you lost track of time. Like, it just happens to everybody, and that's okay. I think the biggest advice I can give you is to, when you show up at that meeting, just acknowledge it, because there's nothing worse than sitting around waiting and waiting for somebody who shows up 15 or 20 minutes or more late, and they get there and act like nothing happened, and act like you didn't just sit here waiting and waiting for them. So I think the very first thing, you get there, you just let them know, like, hey, you know what? I'm really sorry about that, man. I was trying to get out of the house and I really struggled to get out today for some reason. I was just moving slow, or just be honest. Let them know what happened. Acknowledging that you feel bad about it and that you wish you were on time will go a long way. So rather than pretending it didn't happen and pretending and hoping that maybe they didn't notice, rather than doing that, acknowledge it. Best thing you could do. The other person will really appreciate that. I really hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Otherwise, stay motivated, and we'll see you again soon.